it is.
Sorry, thought I'd hit a record while I'm thinking about it. And while we're talking about sexy shows, you want to get that not on tape, right?
We all know what we're covering this week. Like, turn up the heat so everybody's more naked.
That's it.
My only regret is that Mike is not here to enjoy the solarium action, the hot solarium action.
How much wonder do the bringers bring? He's on for that one.
So much wonder.
I think, John, this might be the first guest we've had in season 2. Am I wrong, Matt?
No,
you're correct.
Everyone has skipped the entirety of the season until now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, also just now that we have 3 people regs, we don't need. I mean, we need you here, John, but like technically, we don't need a guest.
No,
right?
I get it. Absolutely.
You can, but yeah. So you're Mike wants the Bringers of Wonder. I think Earl said he wanted the Dorcons, probably just because of the title. That's my guess.
Exactly.
As someone who personally was kind of annoyed with this season until about 3 or 4 episodes ago, I understand. I feel like I understand that people skipping like the Tabor, but you
don't skip the Tabor. Nobody skips the Tabor.
It's weird.
He's too big to get around. You can't get around him. He's too large.
Well, it's weird as hell because, John, you guys did like a Star Trek episode that just had a guy named Tabor in it, and every time you guys mentioned Tabor, it made me wince because I was thinking of that guy.
Yeah, it's a lazy sci-fi name. It is exactly the kind of name that should be in a season 2 episode of Space 1999. It shouldn't be anywhere else, except for maybe a 1950s B movie. But once you've used it, you got to retire it. Star Trek can't use that name, and yet they did.
Well,
cool.
That guy was kind of prickly, right? Yes, if I remember it.
Hell yeah, he was.
There you go.
Well, he wasn't at all like Space 1999's Tabor. That guy was like 3 muds tied together.
Yeah, nobody's like that. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about similarities between Space 1999 and later Treks. I don't know if you listened to Brian the Brain, John.
I was just about to ask you. Was it just the 3 of you on for that one?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, I just watched it the other day, and then I wanted to listen to the podcast, and I had forgot. Like, I remember Brian the Brain, but I had not watched that episode in a long time, and then I just realized that they start out with full-on annoying comedic portrayal of Brian the Brain, but makes him effectively creepy. So
yeah, but I had the hatred for Brian the Brain that Mark had for the Tabor.
Well, this was the argument I made was that making Brian the Brain evil was a perfect move because it made it okay for me to hate him then. I didn't hate him. I didn't really hate him until that happened.
And I pointed out that I think that Brian the Brain was the predecessor to Lore because he was a guy who a robot who killed his or eliminated his colony or his ship and was just waiting there for someone to come save him.
Oh, that's great. Yes, perfect.
I guess he could.
So Data's whole backstory is to Space 1999.
Right there.
Sorry.
I guess he could fix the explanation meme as well. The lore explaining meme, which I
yes.
It's like the Cylons. They just rebuilt Brian the Brain as lore later. Just like the Cylons.
Yep.
There, I've tied it all together.
Okay. Word up. I guess we will plop on into this guy then. This catacomb, fall into the catacomb.
Cool.
All right.
I don't.
Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about Space 1999. This spaceship is on fire. My name is Mark.
Hi, my name is Catacombs of the Moon. Oh, sorry, Matt. Sorry, you guys been using the titles to introduce yourself recently, and I'm just like, I'm Matt. So I was like, I'll try it this week, but it didn't work at all.
I don't think it's going to work, Matt. I don't think there's any Matacombs of the Moon coming anytime soon.
Oh, see, you could just done
Some
that.
hippie girl's named Moon.
Okay.
That's Brian there.
So if you comb her hair.
I'm Brian the Brain.
Yeah. Coming back in, you're we were just saying, since we have a 3-person podcast now, you're actually the first guest of season 2 from Mission Log. It's John Champion. Howdy.
I'm the first 4th. I'm so excited.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Actually, you are the first Force. We haven't done a four except for our season 1 rundown, but that's different. That exists that's listed as a bonus episode, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
and you're back for another episode about a fanatic.
Fanatics are
That's
fun.
right. That's
Put the
Yes.
fun in put the
He
fun in
seems to be
fanatic.
drawn to the fanatic episodes. Why is that?
I'll say
Absolutely
this.
right.
This guy rules. I liked him. He played a fanatic like a fanatic would. He's much more of a fanatic than the guy in Testament of Arcadia. I have to make sure not to say the other arc
Right.
title by mistake.
Right. Okay. Hey, John, since you are here for the first time in season 2 and our first guest, what is your take on season 2 of Space 1999, which is, the weird one?
It is the weird one. It is a huge tonal change from season 1. There's no question about it. I still look, there are very few shows where I make a point of watching the opening credits. And season 1 of Space 1999 is one that I will not forgive the sin of skipping over the opening credits because they're just so damn good. I watched this and I realized, oh yeah, now I remember why I skip season 2 opening credits every single time, because the change in the music, the change in style, even the change in the graphics, everything about it hits me in exactly the wrong way. That said, there are things that I like about season 2. I do appreciate that it feels like they just sort of amped up the design a little bit. And I love that cool, smooth, kind of bland mid-century sci-fi look of season 1. But adding some pops of color in there totally makes sense, totally fine. I as a kid, I really liked Maya. As an adult rewatching it, I do not like Maya as much. and in this episode in particular, I mean, of course, they do with her what they do to Commander Koenig, and they minimize those characters because they were out shooting another episode, I believe. So you get such minimal interaction from them. It's like, okay, I don't need them here at all. Especially when you have a scene like Maya turning into a dog, biting the dude's arm nearly off, and then you just never see her again. And it's like, no, but wait, you did that. Wait, you made a choice to physically injure your crewmate, and now you just get to walk away as if nothing ever happened. They're weird choices.
Yeah, I got the note this week that Koenig is kind of pissy because Maya is not in the Eagle with him. It seems like he likes to take little trips with Maya a lot.
Sure. Hey, yeah. If you got a shapeshifter,
I mean,
you bring
wouldn't
her
we
with
all,
you at any
really?
time? Yeah, of course.
Helena
But
seems like she's having a great time with Dr. Vincent in medical, for what it's worth.
Yes. Yeah. But it is just it's an odd shift, and not only is it an odd shift, but this is just an odd episode, and it really worried me. I mean, you mentioned the fanatic that we get in this episode, and it made me think okay, you have all the top tier, all the folks that we know and love from episode to episode. And Moonbase Alpha is not the population is not that big. I don't know if we have a population count at this point, but as I recall in season 1, it's only 300 and something. It's not
We're
that
down
many.
to about 275 by now.
Okay.
The deaths slowed down in
that
season 2.
out of that 275, a good 200 of them are misfits, fanatics, ne'er-do-wells, people who should probably not be trusted with really important roles in maintaining the health and well-being of your space station. Because at any given point, you're going to run into one of them, and either they're just not good at their job, or they're going to flip. They're going to have some problem immediately, and you can't ever have them around again. Like these two. I don't want to rely on them for anything.
So what you're saying is Moonbase Alpha is like Starbase 80.
Bingo. Yeah. Bingo.
Well, it is
it's less a place to actually do scientific lofty things than just a place to send all your misfits, the guy who invented the Queller drive and things like that.
They do all the real science at Shadow Base.
Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Well,
Mark,
there is I mean, there is a death count for both season 1 and season 2 on jerryanderson.com, but I don't see anything definitive. Looks like we should be around the 280s or 290s because they have this in like airing order and not production order like we're doing it. But yeah, around 280 something.
Okay.
Probably.
Well, by the end of the season, you should hit a solid number, right? One way or the other, no matter how you count it.
Well, it's just like anything, like any show. It's like you have what you have on screen is the number of people in your base.
Mark, can you give us
Basically.
some concrete trivia than that? Not that wishy-washy shit.
Yes, I absolutely can. This is 12th. That's a number in production order for season 2. This episode was doubled up with last week's The AB Chrysalis, which is why Maya and Commander Koenig barely appear in this episode, and Alan Carter doesn't appear at all. Additional budgetary restrictions prevented the production for having John Hugg back as Bill Frazier. Even though they credit unknown actor Alan Hunter's role only as co-pilot, he is still referred to as Bill in this episode. The original script had the artificial art in this episode modeled after Victor Bergman's, but this was omitted, presumably by Fred Freiberger. Much like the foam in last season's Space Brain, the fire filmed for this episode's dream sequence got out of control, and the fire department had to step in. This shut the production down for 2 days. So I guess that's 2 elements so far. This foam and element. Anyway.
Is it liquid or
fire
air? I
and
don't know.
We'll call it water. So fire and water both shut this show down. Xenia Merton is back this week for the first of 7 more episodes, or 8 more if you count the 2-parter as 2 episodes. As mentioned in previous trivia, her character is referred to as San rather than Sandra for the rest of the series. Robert Lynn is our first-time director this week. Born in 1918 in London, the son of a famous comic named Ralph Lynn, who literally has a monocle in his IMDb photo. His career was about evenly split between director and second unit or assistant director. He had previously worked with the Andersons on Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. And these 2 Space 1999 episodes he directs will be his final credits as director. But soon after, he served as second unit director on Superman and Superman 2, and he then passed away soon afterward in 1982 at the age of 63. You can also see his work on Horror of Dracula, The Camp on Blood Island, and The Revenge of Frankenstein. Anthony Turpeloff is back with the primary writing credit. We last saw one of his scripts way back in season 1 with The Infernal Machine, and this is his only credit on season 2. As for our guest stars this week, James Lawrenson plays Patrick Osgood. Born in 1940 in New Zealand, he made his theatrical debut in the title role of Hamlet, which seems pretty impressive. He moved to England in the 60s and began a long career in TV and film with over 100 credits, which ran until 2022, and he passed away in April 2024 at the age of 84. You can see him in Pink Floyd's The Wall, My Dad's the Prime Minister, and alongside Will Wheaton and Robert Picardo in The Man Who Fell to Earth. Not the David Bowie version, but the 1987 TV movie version. I've not seen that. May not be good. As Michelle Osgood, we have Pamela Stevenson, born in 1949, also in New Zealand. She most notably went on to be in History of the World Part 1, Superman 3, and 18 episodes of Saturday Night Live, as well as Bloodbath at the House of Death and Ghosts Can Do It. Also of note, she's been married to Scottish actor Billy Connolly since 1989, and they have 3 children together. If you are wondering what he looks like, if you remember that Scottish guy from that movie, it's probably Billy Connolly. Her IMDb biography photo is one of the best I've ever seen. The best way I could describe it is business punk. I highly recommend go look it up. As co-pilot, aka Bill, we have the aforementioned Alan Hunter, born in 1952 in Liverpool. This was only his 3rd credit, but don't worry, he went on to become a lot less unknown in the following couple of decades. You can see him in Excuse Me, But That's My Car, Dangerous Lady, and 81 episodes of Take the High Road. Anyway, that's trivia.
I like how you said way back in season 1 when there's only 2 seasons.
Way back.
It feels like a long time ago, doesn't it? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. And also we did do the first season over like a 6-month period of time slowly, so that makes it feel longer too.
Well,
I mean,
and notably, he also wrote Collision Course, which was my least favorite episode of season 1, and this similarly kind of is a faith-based thing where a lot of details feel like they are kind of glossed over.
But you're more on board this one, are you?
I like this one better, yeah. This one, I don't know. It's the fire sequence looked really cool,
Oh yeah.
and the guy really goes for it. I mean, I don't know. And there's a lot of good acting. There's a good scene between him and Tony. That was a nice where they actually act like they know each other. I don't know. This season 2 seems to have this habit of having Tony know everybody, which is kind of weird. It's always like I don't even think this is the first person he's been the best man at their wedding, but somehow their relationship works in this.
He's
I
the
did
official
have
best
to-
man.
Wasn't he Bill Fraser's best man too? I think he's everybody's best man.
I think it was someone else who was doomed, not Bill Fraser.
Oh, okay.
I did have to rewind that fight scene though a couple of times because I thought the way it was cut, it looked like he punched him right in the gonads. Like it looked like he went right for the crotch. And I was like, did they cut there specifically to indicate this to the audience? I'm like, oh no, wait, it's the stomach. But is it? No, it looks like he hit him right in the junk.
We found a few bits
Camera
of
is junk focused.
weird editing where it was the Mark of Arcanon, I think, where they like obscure the fact that a man just died. Like the editing makes it
man just gets
unclear.
thrown.
Oh wow. Wow.
I was almost thinking no one
and
died.
murders a guy who is a named character, and they just
And he fought Carter a lot longer, and he couldn't only wound him, but the other guy went down instantly.
and then we
didn't
get a
see him
scene
again.
where Tony says that they've attacked Alan Johnson, where he combines their two names. Anyway, listen to that episode if you want those little details.
And for this episode, I was Brian, you're up for that. I was bullying for you because you have to do it for John Champion, doing the summary, and then I noticed you just went and wrote a mission log style.
All right.
Oh, I thought John was going to read it. That's why I wrote mission log style.
Hell no. Well,
We don't
I,
make
I,
guests
I
read
could.
these things.
I could.
We're not gonna
I'm funny.
force you to
I'm
do it.
working on the recap for the recording I do for Mission Log tomorrow, and I keep waiting for there to be some AI system that does it far better than we can, and it just hasn't come up yet. But
It's almost like it might never happen.
I know exactly. Yeah.
Now I don't
All
know
right.
who's reading this. I guess you should rock
I'll
scissors
read
paper
it.
or something. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
I wrote this stuff. I should be forced to read it. Okay. Prologue. 3 miners deep in the catacombs of Moonbase Alpha search for Tyranium, a rare metal vital to the survival of Michelle Osgood, wife of miner Patrick Osgood, who insists that more explosive charges are needed to uncover it. A large explosion knocks Osgood out, and he sees visions of his bedridden wife surrounded by flames on the lunar surface, reaching out to him. Act 1. Helena Russell is trying to build an artificial heart for Michelle, but is stymied by the lack of Tyranium needed for its valves. She also reports that Patrick Osgood has been having visions involving Michelle in the destruction of Alpha. The base is suddenly bombarded with heat waves from space, and Koenig takes an eagle to investigate. Meanwhile, Helena's 10th heart replacement has failed testing, and she asks Koenig to release some Tyranium, but he refuses. Patrick Osgood rants about how only his faith can save his wife, and afterwards picks a fight with Tony in the explosive storage room. Act 2. A wounded Osgood escapes pursuit, but turns up again wearing, I'm sorry, I can't even read it, but turns up again wired as a human bomb. Going full messianic, he abducts Michelle from medical while the heat waves are getting worse. Act 3. Tony authorizes the Tyranium for Helena and then goes to the catacombs in pursuit of the Osgoods. Patrick has more visions of fiery destruction, but knows that if he stays with Michelle, they will be spared. Helena texts the tech and gets her new heart running. Koenig discovers the heat wave's source, a large firestorm in space, which is bearing down on Alpha. He attempts to outrace it back to the moon. Act 4. With Maya's help, Tony locates the Osgoods, but Patrick is buried under a rock slide triggered by the heat. Michelle is rushed back to Alpha to undergo surgery while Tony saves Patrick. When the couple are reunited in medical, they both revive, and the firestorm abruptly retreats, sparing the base. Epilogue. Helena tries to make sense of it all. You see, Tony, perhaps the firestorm was intelligent and in communication with Osgood, explaining his visions. But Tony is too engrossed with his latest batch of beer to care. Then Koenig lands and turns a blind eye to Helena's use of the Tyranium. The end.
Damn it! I wish every mission log recap was like that.
Well, you go into like 5 times as much detail in your recap.
I know.
I was trying to
we
keep
need,
mine
we
short.
need
And
to
it was
not. Yeah.
There was a lot going on in this episode, ironically, so it really
There
was
is.
hard to
Yeah.
make it
Well, at least you
short.
got the beer in there still. We got to keep track of the beer. That's my
Yeah.
my main
Yes.
task now at this point in the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my main victories was getting Tech the Tech and UC Tony in there.
Yeah.
Those did not go unnoticed.
Oh no, I saw you out of the corner of my eye, and I had to keep a straight face.
Yeah, I'm hoping that by the end of this season that there's going to be some kind of madness that grips the moon base, and then Tony's going to offer someone some beer, and they'll start screaming at him and throw the beer in his face. Like I want it to escalate. I feel like that keeps coming up.
Wait for the Dorcons. Maybe it happens in the Dorcons.
Yeah, Helena calls him not quite human for like. It's like they're just so mad at his beer.
I
very
am
funny.
noticing that season 2 of Space 1999 seems to catch on fire a little bit when they like subtly do Batman tropes. Like the love tester in Brian the Brain is a very much like something you get in a 66 Batman. And here I'm sitting here thinking, hey, this is kind of a Mr. Freeze story, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what it works.
It
Yeah,
is
right.
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
I have to ask, did anybody else think to themselves that he only wired himself with a bomb inside of himself so that they could save money to not have explosives props? That really was what I was thinking about.
I mean, you just need like a
was-
metal box. You can do you even need to spend money on that?
It felt weirdly gory for the show to be like, I put it inside of myself. Didn't really serve a whole lot of purpose. Like he could have just had a vest.
Hmm.
It was I don't know. I also thought that was kind of cool. That's kind of almost Cronenberg. Like the
And he's
bomb is
got that
inside.
Yeah.
speed trigger like 20 years early. So
Mhm.
that, Dennis Hopper's speed trigger. So that was kind of cool. I guess that's actually how those things work. I don't know. I haven't worked with
That-
bombs much.
The bomb subplot in the what might have been the original script, but it's in the novel, is actually played out a little longer. I mean, we see him just ditch it at one point in the catacombs, so it's no longer on the table. But they had to take into account when they tried to rush him that Maya had to like change into a creature, which he doesn't do to any alien creature. No rubber monsters this week. She changes into a
No.
creature and then like goes in with and cuts the battery cables or something to keep from the bomb from being set off, because otherwise he would just trigger it if he was under threat. So yeah,
Well,
that was one of
also
the
he had a
little
bunch of rocks
changes.
fall on him. Like I guess that
There's
wouldn't
a
have triggered the
lot of
bomb.
rocks falling on him,
Well,
which
he
would
did
actually
lot of
explain a lot of
catacombs.
his behavior.
A lot of foam rocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Helena made it sound like these visions and stuff were happening prior to the beginning of the episode. She just kind of drops it in as, oh, by the way, he's been having visions. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
How
the
long has this been
visions
going
thing-
on?
The visions thing was weirdly not quite formed, because she says sort of at the end, what if it's an alien intelligence? And nobody really dropped that any time in the episode. It could, I mean, we've seen alien intelligences influence people at least 3 or 4 times in this
Yeah.
series.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because there is so much that is not well formed. I mean, to call out that as being not well formed, I was like, I guess the chief frustrating thing for me from my 2024 perspective on a show like this is that I'm interested that sci-fi in this area, in this era rather, would try to take on spiritual themes, and it would try to play like this is sort of a trendy thing in sci-fi. They're going to take on religious ideas and kind of metaphysical and psychological experiences and blend them in and just kind of see where they land when you put them in a sci-fi context. But I was so frustrated throughout this whole thing because, okay, you have a phenomenon out in space that's making things hot, okay? That's just kind of useless on the surface, right? Then you've got a guy experiencing visions. And then you've got his sick wife, and he keeps referring to faith. I don't know how many times. I started doing a count of how many times he just said the word faith in the episode. You got to have faith. My faith is stronger. My faith in you. You have to have faith in me, And but then by the end of it, I just kept like, okay, this is going to lead to something. Like his faith is actually in something, right? Like there's a thing we can point to that he believes in, some idea, some central philosophy, anything. No,
He
No,
doesn't need that. One of the quotes I wrote down was,
Yes.
"I have supreme knowledge. Only faith
Yeah.
can bring
right,
life.
right.
If you have
So,
supreme
but-
knowledge, you don't need any dogma anymore."
So it's
See, I
not too
was so much
surprising.
more- Go
This
ahead.
is written by the same guy who wrote Collision Course. At least we had
Yes.
Ara to have faith, and we have faith in Ara because she told us something and we believe.
Well,
it.
that's the
Here
thing.
it's like nobody even tells him anything. He just
No,
does
you,
this-
you
Yeah.
can point to other places in Space 1999 where there would be like a weird quasi spiritual metaphysical thing that happens, and you sort of get the picture. You go like, oh, okay, there's just a thing in the universe we don't understand, like Black Sun, which I talked about on the show with you guys. Okay, it's just a phenomenon, a thing that happened. We don't get it, but we'll just feel good at the end of the episode that we didn't get crushed, and now we end up, somewhere else in the galaxy. I'm fine with that. This, particularly because it dealt with the health of somebody on the crew and potentially, something very destructive toward everybody else on the crew, was nothing but frustrating. I kept thinking, throw this guy in jail. I don't care what you have, just get him out of there, take away all resources. He should not be allowed to walk around freely anymore at all. Helena, go get the Terranium. Don't worry about it. Just get it and do your job. And that's that's how you resolve this. Yes,
This is the
Brian?
first person
Yeah.
ICU that, I guess survived through the episode, because usually they cut power and the people in ICU die.
And then they're gone.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
And she had 10 hearts, right? She went
Well,
through
they-
10 hearts is no small expense, right? I mean, geez.
That heart prop is hilarious to me, by the way. I love how
Oh, the
like
cube.
big,
Oh,
a
yeah.
cube, big, bulky with
With-
lights in it.
One tube.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
one tube. Yes.
That's more efficient
Now,
that
as
way.
I recall, hearts have something like 4 chambers. Am I remember?
On a good day.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think at least 2 tubes would have been called for here, but
Yeah, it looked
would
kind of
be-
like a bong.
Yeah, it
Like a
did.
space bong.
Especially when it
Um,
starts smoking. But I love that prop because it's just like, you could design this any way. Like you could design it in the shape of a heart. And that
That's an
would
idea.
that would fit the
Yeah.
cavity you're about to create in her chest. That would work too.
and there's like some little mandala effect in my own head that when the heart failed, when you hear it spaff and explode,
Uh-huh.
that there was actually a visual effect, like a smoke or something. No,
Yeah.
there's
No?
no effect.
Oh
there.
my-
It's
See, okay, that's
go
me
back and watch
conjuring
it.
that
It
in
just
my head
bleeps
too.
and then it just goes, and then everybody goes, "Aw," and then
Aw.
there's not even a satisfaction of a puff of smoke coming out of the thing. So,
Oh man!
Oh,
Wow!
And this fascinates me that this is an instance of a sci-fi work being more pessimistic, because real artificial hearts were developed I think 1982, and this states 1987, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh
don't know,
yeah,
that's
I thought that
always
was
pretty fun.
good. Actually, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Like they overclocked it, right? So
Although I think the first, I was reading up on that a little bit. The Jarvik 7 that went into the guy in 1982, it only
he
how long
lasted
did he
4
last?
months.
That
Yeah,
long?
that lasts
Okay,
long.
okay.
They
I
put
thought
it in
was shorter.
December.
That's pretty
He
good.
lasted until March. So
That's pretty good, actually.
for the
Yeah.
first one, but that's
Yeah,
still like
yeah.
a existential dread sort of situation in your own life. If you just got an artificial heart and you're like on this borrowed time, that would have.
Yeah, the
Sure.
first,
But on the flip
especially the
side-
first one, like anybody have the first iPad? Yeah. What a
Yeah,
nightmare.
but it didn't kill you after 4 months.
well, on the flip side,
Maybe.
guys, we still have Dick Cheney. So
That's amazing.
You know what? I would
I've
trade
been
the
to his
lives
favorite
of
restaurant.
everybody else. That's not true. But I'm considering stating publicly that I would trade the lives of everyone who's sent artificial hearts to kill Dick Cheney. I'm not going to actually say that.
I was
well,
in
we don't know
Jackson
who the
Hole.
next administration is going to be, so you better watch what
Right.
you say.
I was in
Right,
Jackson
right.
Hole, Wyoming 20 years ago, and we went to a restaurant, and it was really good. It was off season, so it was also kind of cheap. But yeah, they're advertising, their main claim, like it was posted around the restaurant, is this is Dick Cheney's favorite restaurant. I'm like,
Wow.
And
Wow, thank goodness he stayed there. Yeah.
no, he has dinner there and then goes and shoots a guy. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
I think that was also in Jackson Hole, if I remember correctly.
Oh god.
By the way, that
So-
conversation earlier where I was talking about the supreme knowledge, that was a great conversation, dialogue wise. At the end, I just loved this little exchange. There is no talk, there is only visions. Then let's talk about visions. It's like talking to Zool, Sigourney Weaver, Zool and Ghostbusters or whatever.
Right, right.
So I wonder what their marriage was like before all this
Idyllic.
stuff happened. You think it was great?
Idyllic. It was just like Love Story from what 1971 or two. It was just like that
Yeah.
because everyone loves Ryan
Yeah.
O'Neal. He's everyone's favorite leading man.
I feel like Patrick would have maybe just been the kind of guy who would not like ask for directions.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
He seems a bit he's a bit domineering, you know. And I really like Pamela Stevenson. She's got a really interesting career. She's played a variety of types of roles, and she really, one thing that after her acting career, she went off and got like a degree in psychology, and she's written books and lectured and all this stuff. She's a really interesting person, and just plays like the most helpless of helpless people here. I feel bad for her, like getting dragged around in the catacombs, like he steals her, and like, I'm just like, man, you're a creep.
She has no agency whatsoever in this story.
None. And Patrick is just a straight up creep about it.
I kept thinking there was something about Patrick or her that made the whole vision and prophecy thing, pay off. Like there's a reason that I'm trying to do these things, big fiery space cloud, so it's like I'm trying to help you very indirectly by driving this one guy crazy and nearly killing this woman or something. I don't know, some reason behind it all, but we never really get one. And so that's kind of why a lot of people don't.
Oh, here, this explains most of the things, like the subtle alien influence. Somewhere in my notes, I was like, this episode feels like the one directed by a drunken David Lynch. So, especially when we get to the visions, fire, water.
Yeah, I remember you said that. That was good.
I guess I'm just so I'm so seduced by the scenes where people are just angrily talking at each other and the cool effects, and this isn't really that much better than Collision Course, if at all. It's just that Collision Course frustrated me so much because it entirely relied on Koenig believing this lady who he'd never met. And I was at the time just really tired of Koenig being right about everything. And Koenig can't be right about anything in this because he's basically Elena goes right over his head. Like he doesn't have any agency in this.
Well, he's in an eagle, like somewhere. If you're off in the eagle, some decisions get deferred or made without your input.
He's just
that's the kind of decision he should not be required to make when away. Come on, somebody else is in charge.
Terranium, aka plot device,
unobtainium,
which I'm not really sure what it does.
It is unobtainium in this episode, isn't it? Because they can't obtain it because Koenig says no.
Well, they tried to use terranium, like I said before, but they changed it to titanium because it was a real thing.
Right.
And I guess they fell back on terranium for this one. And there was another, milganite. I got to find the milganite. Yes. The Irish cowboy had to find the milganite.
At the beginning, when they are searching for the... Now I just want to say titanium. Did they have color guide maps of the catacombs? It looked like he was given the guys maps, and they looked like theme park maps or something.
I missed that part. There was a weird line about Patrick knowing his way around the catacombs, even pitch darkness, which seems like an odd thing. Like he's really been in the catacombs that much.
He studied the color guide map a lot.
Well, no wonder he's a little weird. He's a little weird because he spends too much time in the dark. Is what's going on with him. That's what he hears things.
And apparently tigers can't really see in the dark that well, even though I turned into a tiger.
Yeah,
I saw that.
But that was a great looking tiger, though.
It was still a cool tiger, and it was fun how it kept zooming in really fast on people's faces because they were afraid of the tiger.
I was surprised they had a live animal that wasn't just a dog, because I thought they'd given up on that.
They've gone quite a while without a live animal.
They haven't had one in a while. And I always get nervous when I see one because I'm afraid, there's going to be like a Siegfried and Roy situation. Since on the set, something bad's going to happen.
I like weird rubber costume Maya transformations. So I have no problem with that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, sure.
It doesn't make any sense that she'd know what Earth animals even were. Like there aren't any Earth. I mean, are there Earth animals on Alpha? I don't think there are.
Probably a zoo somewhere.
It seems like a 50-50 mix of Earth animals and exotic aliens. And somehow, she always goes to the Earth creatures.
She's a science officer. She's supposed to know about this stuff.
Just picture
she
her
did her research.
absorbing the dictionary like in The Fifth Element. like seeing
Exactly.
the video encyclopedia.
Mm. See, I'm just having a glance through my notes.
Uh,
Oh, early on, I called Chief an angry alpha male David Byrne. He looked kind of like that in a few shots. I thought that was fun.
He did have a familiar look
Good.
to him, but I can't place him in anything else. That actor.
I think it looked like Mick Jagger, kind of.
That
young
came
Mick Jagger.
that came through a few times.
Oh,
I guess he had some
interesting. I didn't
rock
make
star
that connection.
energy. Yeah, he had some
Yeah.
rock star
Yeah.
energy. Is David Byrne a rock
Okay.
star? I guess
Bit of
technically
a,
he is.
he had a bit of swagger to him. Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
I think David Byrne would have really liked a career where he didn't have to ever do rock star things, but I'm not
I
entirely
think
sure.
he managed that for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, I think I did right, or maybe it was last week where I wanted Mick Jagger to do his first acting in here. Actually, he'd already been in a couple movies at this point, hadn't he? Jagger, I mean.
The thing I'll
Wasn't-
always remember him for is Free Jack, which was
Right,
filmed
that's
here.
Wasn't
but-
Jagger in the running for Escape from New York? Is that second banana character, the punk looking one?
Really?
Maybe
I think he was supposed to play that character, but
That
they
would've been
couldn't
cool.
get him.
It's,
Yeah, you could see,
see
yeah, he
that.
could be
Yeah,
sort of a
yeah,
Jagger like character.
Yeah.
You gotta wait for Free Jack, as Mark said.
I mean,
Free
he
Jack.
wasn't great in Free Jack, but Free Jack is a great, really insane movie that that Anthony Hopkins is trying to put his brain inside of Emilio Estevez, who he got from the past using a time machine because he crashed his race car so he can bang Rene Russo. Anyway,
Oh,
Mick
tell me this
Jagger
is
is
on
the guy
Films and
who-
Filth.
Who married the screenwriter, correct?
I want to do Films and Filth on this one now.
Was it the
Sounds
screenwriter
Yes.
she married?
bonkers?
Yeah.
Yes,
This
she
sounds
did.
bonkers.
Still married today.
it is absolutely bonkers. Yeah, in 1993, find it. It was filmed in Atlanta. I think I had teachers that were extras in it.
Really?
At the time.
Wow.
I remember going past the set or whatever. I mean, we were looking for it because we were excited in 13 or 14 or something. I was.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. I thought
Yeah.
it was good when I was whatever age 15.
Yeah, everyone in Atlanta wanted to think it was good because it was filmed there. It was before like everything was done on a green screen in
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Well, the best thing, one of the best things about it is it's supposed to be New York, and it's clearly Atlanta with the Brooklyn Bridge composited in to the left, and then a gigantic 250-story tower that looks like it has a giant claw at the top, composited in the middle, and that at the top of that building is Anthony Hopkins' brain. And then I don't want to spoil too much. Just
That's
if it
odd.
sounds at all interesting,
Yeah,
then check
it
it out.
is.
If you want to do New York, you usually just go film
Unreal.
Toronto.
I think it's
Yeah, that's now.
That's the way you do it now. Yeah.
I guess it's
Right.
been more recently when we kind of demand like I want to if I watch a movie like and I know the town like again mentioning Speed. John, maybe you can confirm or deny, but I think people can kind of work out where they go in that movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
don't know LA, but Die Hard: The Vengeance kind of makes sense where they are, but this
Yep, yep,
other
yep.
things don't make sense. One of the Twilight Zones I just did, I drew a genie. He's in the Oval Office, which is clearly smaller, and the
Uh-huh.
U.S. Capitol is directly outside the window. I'm like, that's not there.
Well, I
I
always
do love
point
stuff
out
like that, though.
Yeah, I always point out that Baby Driver it's cool that Edgar Wright decided to make a movie about Atlanta that was filmed in Atlanta because so few people are doing that. There are still a couple of things where the guy drives from Dunwoody to downtown in like 10 seconds and it's not accurate.
Right.
But that's still
But there are movies though that kind of work very well with their own, like Collateral. I think is a movie that works really well using the city as the location, and things make sense. It's like, oh, okay, it takes time to get from here to there, or it takes no time to get from here to there.
yeah. The best thing to do is keep it vague.
Yeah.
Something
And
is,
nobody
there was
can,
a there was a
okay.
movie or TV show lately that was set in San Francisco. So of course the Golden Gate is like again right outside the window, which does not happen anywhere unless you're in Fort Point, maybe.
Yeah. From all buildings all the time, they can see the Golden Gate Bridge immediately outside.
No,
Well, you
Brian,
know-
in your notes, you seem mildly annoyed that there's like a new section of Alpha where I'm like, it's a moon. We can have catacombs in many different places. It is pressurized and they have doors. So I guess that.
Oh, you mean mining
that.
section with the helmets that clearly say mining section? It's just
Yeah.
Okay.
we hadn't seen.
Oh, I
them
love the
before.
signs. I love the flashing signs. Those are great.
Low,
And
was it
not
low
only are
pressure
there
or
si-
low pressure. Yeah.
Like that
Air
that's the
pressure
thing that I
normal.
really appreciate about I appreciate that about classic Batman, and it really became a thing in the 60s in particular, and 1999 really amps it up, that everything has a label. everything has a big ass sign on it. It kind of makes me want to go around my office and my apartment and just put labels backlit on everything so everybody knows exactly what everything is.
We were
But
discussing the alpha, medical recorder or whatever. That
yes,
giant machine
yes.
that Helena talks into every day, and you want to say bat recorder on the side of it because it
Right,
looks like
right.
it's out of the bat cave.
That one machine that is huge, and it cracks me up. I came in this morning. Actually, Friday, Rod texted me and said, "Hey, I'm going to leave something for you on your desk." Cool. So I came in this morning, and here's this literally a box that's maybe a half an inch thick and maybe about 4 or 5 inches tall. Open it up, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And it is an AI enhanced voice recorder. So I think back to the days when my dad had had a micro cassette recorder. I thought that was super cool. Like that is just the greatest invention in the world because you walk around with this thing in your pocket and you can record, right?
Those were
This
cool.
thing is literally as big as 2 credit cards on top of each other. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Wow.
And I haven't even gotten into all the details of like how much it'll record and how it connects and how it like transcribes and works with your information. I thought this was the coolest thing. And then I thought there's that. And then there's Helena's medical log recorder that is literally bigger than a washing machine, has lights on it, it's got a sign. Okay, but let me ask you guys this, because that is we can all accept and understand the leap of technology it took to come up with that. The whole idea of the catacombs on the moon, I feel like Space 1999 asks of its audience certain things that you just take and you go like, oh, okay, if I can get on board with the idea of the moon blasted out of orbit and on this long trajectory, okay, I need to swallow that to get into the show. I need to accept other things like the physics of the Eagles. I need to accept the way the space station works. I need to accept that they have gravity that is approximate to Earth gravity. But now we're in the catacombs. And now the catacombs are just these long caves that, okay, even if some of them are pressurized, are they also all gravity controlled as well? And you can set off explosions in them without any real problem or detriment to that. That was a lot to ask. I felt like that was too much of Space 1999 to ask of me in an episode that already has all this other weird stuff it wants me to swallow.
I guess that's the thing in season 1, they kind of like take on the big philosophical issue with the dumb stuff around it. Where here it's like,
Sure.
we're gonna have an adventure, but the dumb stuff surrounding it hasn't necessarily gotten smarter.
Well, I think this was a result
Yeah.
of the budget and the fact that they built a big cave scene for the metamorph, and it's like, we got to use this cave
Gotta
set
use it
the
again.
rest
Yeah.
of the season. And they already
Yes.
gave us a prelude of this with Mark of Arcanon, because that's where the Arcanons were, under the moon, which was also
Are
kind
these
of a
the same
wild swing.
catacombs?
Yeah, I think they are. In fact, in the book, the
Mhm.
2 stories are like back to back with each other. And it's like, oh, cool, catacomb stories. Okay, whatever. But then we also saw them on Rules of Luton and a couple other places. They kept
But this is
repainting
the
them.
end of
Remember?
them. This is the end of it, apparently. If
Next
March-
week.
No, well, the next week was last week, wasn't it? Because these are the
No, but last
aired
week is
episodes.
next week.
Okay. Anyway, the cave's going
I
away
think they had to
soon.
paint them. They had to
Oh,
paint them
no.
paint them yet another color. They went orange and then blue and
Mhm.
then gray.
Sparkle.
So okay, I don't know a lot about physics. What is the possibility of a cloud in the vacuum of space generating so much heat that it would make Alpha super hot? I feel like that seems unlikely. I don't.
Could you fly into like a plasma cloud? I mean, like a nebula of plasma or
but
something, maybe?
The thing is, they're not in the cloud. The cloud is above them, right? That's
They're
sort of
coming-
what's happening. It's ahead
but-
of them.
They're coming closer to the cloud, right? So it's like getting
Or
into the early parts
clouds
of a
getting
nebula.
close to them. Yeah, we don't
I'm
even
not-
see the cloud.
I'm not
I
trying
will
to
see the
poke
cloud
holes. I'm
coming.
just wondering, like, does anyone understand this more than I do, or am I? Am
I
right
think
to
you
poke
just
holes
need
in
the word
this?
nebula. I think if they use the word nebula, you'd be cool with it.
Nebula, yeah, there's like a dark
Yeah.
nebula with a really hot heat source behind it.
It's
Heating them up.
rotating and disco lights are coming out of it. That's how you know how hot it is.
But they don't have like infrared
Right.
cameras that can point at the sky and say, "Oh, it's coming from there." You know, it's
Right,
like,
right. Yeah,
it's a
you gotta
mysterious
fly
thing that we
out
have to
there,
send
yeah.
an eagle 6 hours out to find out what it is, because they do
Right.
that a lot in this show.
Yeah.
Things are never just visible in space.
Like I said,
with
it's
a
not always
telescope.
just a Maya excuse. Sometimes he
Yeah.
wants to do it for
Oh,
real.
he wanted to be with Bill. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's
he
glad
was
to see
kind
the
of mean to
return
Bill.
of the
Some
it's
Bill
glad to see the
time.
return of the alarm button, the big red alarm button.
Oh, love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to put that in. That is in
Yeah.
the credit sequence, which maybe John skipped this week.
Well,
No, it's just the
one of
last
my-
several episodes. It's always one in every room. So whenever something bad happens, they reach for that button.
New song is firmly stuck in my head. What was it? I guess it was the reused music of the all that Fender Rhodes stuff was pretty cool. I'm looking for
that fight music got reused a lot with the bongos.
Oh yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
That's
I guess that's a lot.
that's starting to wear on me a little bit. I loved it at
Mm.
first, and it's been used a number of
Well,
times.
that's
at
what
this point.
Brian told you was going to happen.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
warned you.
You're
You should have
right.
had faith. You should have listened to no one but him.
Well, but we don't we don't talk about the fact that TOS did the same thing and did like 5 scores and then used them over and over and over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here's the most diluted line. I did write down a lot of quotes from this one, which is like, "You'll never die." It's like, wait, what? You're gonna die
Yeah,
eventually. What
is
are you talking
unlikely.
about?
Yeah.
It's very unlikely.
Yeah, that just kind of puts the capper on all the creepy stuff in their relationship. Like there's the one thing that now he's I don't want to call him a religious fanatic, because I can't even tell, like, I can't chalk this up to like a religious thing specifically. He's just driven by some really bizarre motivation that is based around quote unquote faith. There's that going on already, which definitely is impeding his professional life, his personal life, etc. But on top of that, I think just the relationship is problematic. And again, we've only got less than 300 people on board this thing, and I feel like some sort of intervention is going to be necessary for them to be functioning, self. How should we say, just like, functional human beings who can do their own jobs on their own and not be totally reliant on each other. He's dangerous, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they want this to end with like a happy ending, like, oh, she's gonna be fine because his faith got them through. Again, faith in what? I have no idea.
Faith in the heart.
Yeah, but this just spells bad news. This is just bad news.
Well, her
God,
heart
that
is
was right
busted.
there, and I didn't even see it.
Her heart
Faith
is
of the
busted,
heart.
so maybe.
Well, he had no faith in
Yeah.
the heart. He had no
Yeah.
faith in Helena's heart.
Yeah,
it worked.
yeah, right. Exactly.
No, my note here is this a happy ending? Is Pat going into the brig for 30 days? 30 days in the brig, that'll do it, right?
30 days. I mean, he
Yeah,
should
that's it.
he should pretty
should
much
get
be on house arrest of some sort for the rest of the journey. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Journey to
this
where,
guy
though?
is not.
Well, unless afterwards he suddenly becomes lucid again and doesn't, just goes, that was weird. I don't know what
Yeah.
I was talking
Nothing
about.
suggests that's
Then-
going to
then-
happen,
then-
though.
If they had taken the time to show an alien intelligence going into him, like in Force of Life, then that's
Right,
all it
sure.
would have really taken. Then it would have been like, oh,
Sure.
he's normal now. He doesn't have to die or go to the
Because
brig.
who hasn't been taken over by an alien intelligence in this show?
And as you said with Collision
Same.
Course, how can they trust Koenig after this? Maybe Koenig needs 30 days in the brig, too.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That's a good point. And in Koenig's case, he was right, and this guy was wrong. But there were the main difference. This guy wired himself with explosives inside of himself, which is that's a bridge too far. I mean, that is. Anyway, my favorite scene in this was actually when Tony was following Pat through the catacombs with the other guy, and he says, it's as though you're following a prophet. The other guy says, unless he explodes. And there's a long pause and no one laughs.
That's dry gallows humor. You don't have to laugh at
Right.
it.
It's just the way that it was framed, it felt like a joke bombing horribly, and that was, I mean,
Well,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot of Helena and Ben's dialogue was kind of stilted and
Oh,
not
man.
very funny
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
yeah, even though I do still am still enjoying Barbara Bain kind of giving it everything she's got, and they were, not everyone was actually acting like they were hot, and they were.
A lot of them
wondered
were
about
hot.
that. Yeah.
People
We're
were
like
next to nothing.
depending-
It's as hot as an oven.
Yeah, depending on where you went, it seems like the AC
Mm-hmm.
was working better than other places. Sometimes they'd have the sweat on them, and other times it's totally not.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to really
Right.
commit to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, classic 70s ER trope is, surgeons being dabbed on the forehead by assistants.
Loved it. Yes, yes.
Try to
Totally
get
there
that
for
sweat
that.
off the brow before it gets in their eyes.
Uh-huh.
It's-
Well, that's
Uh-huh.
been a problem for me. My wife's like, put the suntan lotion. I go outside and I start sweating, and then it burns my eyes. So I need that person to do that when I'm
Just
walking
to walk around
outside.
and dab you.
Yeah,
Just to
yeah,
walk around and
dabber.
dab you.
Don't talk to me. You're
Nurse.
just a
Right.
dabber. Right.
And also of note, it seems like, am I crazy, or was there a thing where Tony, way after the fact, way after the fight in the explosives room, wonders to himself why Patrick was in the explosives room?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that was a
Right.
slow burn.
Okay.
You finally realized,
Yeah,
what was he
yeah.
doing there?
Wait a minute. Some stuff in season 2 is almost like Simpsons jokes, and that
Dental
makes me appreciate it
plan.
more.
Lisa needs braces.
Wait a minute.
Dental plan. Lisa needs braces.
There's explosives in the explosives room.
Right. Let's put some percentages on this, I suppose. How much of it's hard sci-fi? How much of it is soft core? So I was gonna say 70% soft, with 30% hard, but then I saw in my notes, it says whatever I say for soft core, I should add 10 points to. So that's 80-20 now.
Wow.
In the watching of the episodes, like however I feel when I do the podcast, I have to add 10 points. So
Just automatically. Okay.
yeah, automatically add 10 points. So 80-20 split for me.
I'm going further. I'm going 90-10, and the 10% is because the eagle is flying, and that's a thing. That is a scientific device.
That's the thing.
Artificial heart. That is
Not
a
a
real
realistic artificial heart, but
but
No,
it is a
no.
thing that could be made by humans
I built a
someday.
gravity bong once, man.
Yeah.
I will probably do 75-25 because there's an eagle. There's some cool alpha smoking effects. I thought they did a pretty good job blowing up alpha this week, but also putting lots of atmosphere in it, which of course the moon has no atmosphere. So why is there smoke hanging in the air? I don't know. And I kind of like some of the catacombs, jiggery pokery, but yeah, it's definitely more on the soft side with visions and just prophecies and all that sort of thing going on, and we're still not quite sure why it happened, and is the firestorm intelligent, and it was all very mushy and vague. Oh, and also soft core for the girls in the bikinis in the solarium for
there we
Captain
go.
Mike.
There we
That's
go.
where I'm
Captain-
adding.
Oh yeah.
That's where I was adding 10 points.
They were
no
like,
matter
I
what.
wish it was always this hot.
Yeah, I think that's actually the highlight of the episode. Yeah. Yeah. I think about an 80-20 is probably a good split. There's just a lot of like vague navel gazing kind of, isn't this trippy and cool and wow, faith. So, but literally nothing to be said about it. It's just stuff. It's just words that they throw out. But within that 20%, yeah, we get an eagle. We get some cool alpha set pieces, and like I'm here for the signage. Like I said, anytime you show me a backlit sign with that cool 70s font, like I am there for it. So that and the artificial heart, I do give them points for that because at least it's kind of like it's a thing in the zeitgeist, of a thing that is known, that is a conceptual idea. They took it and ran with it, and they were just off by a few years for the real thing. So yeah, I'll give them that 20%, but it's no more than that. Not 1 point over that 20% for hard sci-fi.
I'm still disappointed there was no mention of Victor Bergman in relation to artificial hearts, because
Right.
he was right
Yeah.
there
Yes, he
until
was right there.
last season,
Yeah.
and now he's not there anymore.
Freiberger just wants to eliminate everything that is old in this show.
Well, they could have gone
Must
kind of
not.
dark and said, well, Victor's gone, but all was left of him was his heart.
Can we get his heart?
So we're going to
Oh,
use
man.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say they could go that everyone with an artificial heart dies at age 45 because that's how old Fred Freiberger wants the limit of age to be. But yeah,
I am
it's
looking. This is the lowest on IMDb. This is
yes, it is
this
low
shares
rated.
with Rules of Luton the lowest rating of season 2 at 5.4. Which
That's about right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
funny
that's
because
fair.
I came in kind of liking this episode, and you guys have kind of talked me out of it, which is really funny.
Oh, I still like it. You put in that much baller 70s sci-fi effects. I'm in.
I'm not as mad as I was at like the Tabor, but this didn't have anything actively obnoxious in it.
Tabor's got
Really.
5.6, so it's a better episode, isn't it?
Oh well, no accounting for taste of humanity.
One man's obnoxious, another man's charming. I love that guy.
Yeah, he told me he didn't do anything wrong. He kept saying he had abided by all the contracts.
Okay, sounds square to me. Yeah, or round,
Yeah.
I guess.
I heard he was a legitimate businessman.
Any final thoughts y'all wanna throw into the Catacombs of the Moon?
Well, my final thought is that when Pat has the little trigger thing, he says, any sudden move and I could lose my grip on this firing pin, which I am totally convinced was plagiarized and I cannot figure out from where.
Speed.
Oh.
Okay, so from Speed 20 years later.
Okay.
Well, there were other
Trying
suicide
to
bomb
get it.
stories prior to this one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Probably one of those. I was kind of annoyed at the Tyranium subplot in that Coney says no, and then Tony says yes. Then Coney says, well, fait accompli, so yes. Ha ha ha, freeze
Yeah.
frame, end of episode. It was all kind of extra drama added on top of it.
Yeah, Mark sent us the freeze frame.
I sent you the freeze
The
frame because
actual
it's so
freeze frame.
perfect. It's so perfectly framed. Like it's amazing that you just get the two of them smiling, on the view screen with Fred Freiberger's name in the corner. It's absolutely perfect.
Okay, I'll make that the thumbnail for the podcast.
Yay!
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Final thought is that Michelle and Patrick need to get counseling. Patrick needs some deep psychoanalysis. But that's, yeah. Other than that, it's such a weird episode. It's really strange. Yeah.
I think this is a happy July 4th for everyone. John, if you want to try and give a July 4th spiel on what's up in.
Yeah, July 4th we'll be back after a little hiatus. We'll be back with 30 Days. So my guest co-host on that will be Charlene Schmidt. And stay tuned after that. So, yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that freeze frame. God, that's beautiful. Oh my
you
God.
could have gotten away. You could have gotten away with a 30-day break if you wanted to fit the episode.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Now we have an ad commitment on the 4th, so we could only do the 2 weeks. So, but yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
So everybody come over and join us, podcast.roddenberry.com for those. We'll see you there.
All right. As for us, you can find our podcasts on patreon.com/podcastias. You can help us out with server bills, get some outtakes. Check out our other podcasts, such as Films and Filth, Citizen Kane of Podcasts, which John appears on for a couple of bangers recently. Das Boot and Sunset Boulevard. And wait, was there a third? I don't know. You got some good stuff lately.
Just those two recently. Mad Dust Boat was awesome. Yeah,
yes. Yes, Das Boot.
Yeah.
My bad.
Boot. You say it like you try and do the fake German accent.
Das
Boot.
Boot.
Das Boot.
Das Boot.
Das
Boot.
Boot.
Das Boot. The submarine. I'm just going to annoy people and call it the submarine. The submarine.
Yesterday was Father's Day, so I put on Crimson Tide for the family, and they hated it.
Oh, man.
Your father's prerogative, right?
That's why I was like, this is the only time you get away with trying to put on Crimson Tide. But I was like, give it 30 minutes. They're gonna start screaming into each other's faces. It's great.
I want to see a Facebook post that's like your family frowning in front of a screen playing Crimson Tide. Also, Time Enough podcast about the Twilight Zone. All of us have been on that lately. Luke Loves Pokemon, Game Show, the game show about games, Occult Disney, covering the connections between occult and Disney. And anyway, that's the
there goes Mark's
that's
engine
the
sputtering.
The moon
He's
base is no
sputtering.
longer on fire.
Yeah, I'm not going to follow that up. That's a last word.
I was going to say I have faith in supreme knowledge, so we will see each other again.
Okay. Well, the Patreon crowd
Is
will
it
hear
getting
that.
hot in here? Whoa.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to wear any clothes in this moon base.
I think the tank tops really should
Anyway.
be like permanent addition to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony
I
looked- Tony
did
is
find it
rocking that tank
hysterical when
top.
Tony's rocking the tank top, but the other two guys are in like full security uniforms.
That's the thing. They don't commit to the heat
They
level.
didn't have enough in the budget to buy 3 more tank tops, I guess.
They could
Yeah.
just wear their own tank top or underwear or whatever, you know.
He
Yeah,
outranks them,
pick
so
up
he
this
gets to wear a
undershirt.
tank top and they cannot.
good.
That sounds terrible. I mean, it sounds terrible, but also plausible.
My rank is
And
high enough
Maya's
to run
like
around
totally
naked.
out of uniform this week. She's in a
Oh,
dress
man.
or something in that one
Forgot to
cutaway
even
we see of
talk
her in the
about that.
hallway.
Like
Yeah, and
before,
then
like it's
She
even
had a
really
jumpsuit down in the
not bad.
catacombs. I don't know what that was about.
Lots
But
of
she
things.
literally worked
It
like
was
one day,
whatever
I
she
think.
was wearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was
like
super
it's
weird.
doing. You could sit here just like, yeah, this is a good pick apart episode. Maybe that's why it has such a low rating, which is weird fun, you know. So
Mhm.
it's enjoyable. I guess that's why you chose it, because I was like, why did you choose Catacombs of the Moon? But
But that's the thing. Like yeah, for all the negative things that we have said, I in particular have said, they heighten drama. You've got good set pieces. It commits to its own weirdness. It just has no point to the weirdness. So you know,
I guess that's where my drunken David
just-
Lynch comment came from.
It just needed a second draft. I am
Yep.
not convinced that, and I mean, this probably is the second draft. There probably was the original draft and the Fred Freiberger draft, which
right.
it seems like a
right.
lot of people have said that Fred Freiberger just took their scripts and made them unrecognizable. And not this week's writer,
Well,
but yeah, a couple of other
Did
guys.
he add or subtract more to the supernatural or spiritual aspect of it? Because I can't tell if they were going to put in some more blatant Christianity or something, or they took it out to make it more generic.
My educated guess,
sounded-
based on the rest of
Yeah.
this season, is he probably added a bunch of character moments with Tony knowing everyone, and probably there probably was more Koenig stuff, because I'm sure this was not written to be an episode without Koenig in it. So
I think Koenig
probably-
was supposed to be in the beginning and in the end,
Mhm.
but they just cut him out completely. I think he was supposed to be in
yeah.
the command
I
center.
don't know if
from what
yeah,
I
don't
reading.
know. This was probably written before they started production of the season, and it probably was not intended to be a doubled up episode, because I think, I don't know. I'm just going on based on little shreds of things I've seen, because there isn't a lot of information on the production side of things for this.
I'm still kind of
So,
hazy on the whole San thing, because I think they wrote a new character called San to replace Sandra, but then when she came back, they just called her San.
I think it's just a cheeky
there's
nickname.
speculation
Because San,
that-
I think, was supposed to be a male character.
There's
From what I read,
speculation
but I don't know
that
if that's a
was-
thing from. Yeah, I don't know
there's
where
speculation
that
that
came
was
from.
Fred Freiberger punishing for leaving and coming back.
Hmm.
And that sounds
You
that-
get half a name now.
I don't think I put that in the
Yeah,
trivia
yeah.
because that sounded kind of too
Petulant.
speculative and mean. But
and petty,
not impossible.
which is probably
Yeah.
what it was on
Exactly
his
right.
part.
Yeah.
Oh, completely unrelated question. Space 1999. I was listening to the podcast, the ride about the LA County Fair, and now I'm curious if you've been there and have eaten something totally bizarre there.
I've never been to the LA County Fair, and I really want to go. Because it's been a long time since I've been to like a local, like a homegrown fair. Never been. I hear it's great.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm looking up what the
I've-
foods were there. I
I've
don't know.
heard a
if-
few podcasters say they went there, and apparently that they have like really good like music acts booked there, like legitimate,
Mm-hmm.
like famous people are booked as like entertainment. And
Let's see.
it sounds like it's
When- I don't
pretty
know
fancy
when it-
now.
Let's see.
Flamin' hot Cheetos and pickle pizza,
I would totally eat that. Yeah.
hot honey funnel cake chicken sandwich. Wow, that looks
Done.
like
Okay,
a heart
yeah.
attack.
Done.
All right,
Yes.
sure.
This is
Yeah.
why I'm
Yes.
asking the question. So I guess you got to
Yeah.
make it next year.
So it's May.
I think it's May. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how they just have like bizarre contests, like door decoration. There's a whole thing of where it's just a bunch of doors and table setting where people do these
Right.
weird like
Right.
themed elaborate table setting. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just I was like, stuff you just don't know exists until someone tells you about it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you
Speaking of
I heard
LA
about the-
things, I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that I posted in Discord, John, that Tig
Mhm.
Notaro will be at Dynasty Typewriter on Friday if you want to go check her
Oh
out.
no! Wait. Oh
Ooh.
crap! I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm going to
Yeah.
Vegas on Wednesday,
What?
staying through Friday. I know. Well,
Perfect
I
timing.
really,
Oh well.
I really want to go see the Beatles' Love before that ends, and it ends very soon.
Mm.
So gonna go do that, and I'm gonna go see Lady Gaga Jazz and Piano at the Park MGM.
Well,
So,
hopefully some
man,
LA
that's
truckers
gotta
will
be
go get to
great.
check her out.
yeah, that would be
That's
cool
cool.
as
Chris
hell.
or Shaw or somebody
Or
down
Trevor.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Man. Yeah, I've
Well,
never
I'm
seen Tig
seeing.
Notaro live. I'd love to at some
Yeah, me
point.
either. That'd be cool.
I don't see anything live since I'm Bilbo Bagginsing my life and staying in my hobbit hole.
You live in the Shire.
You're not
The
going to see weird
Japanese
Japanese
Shire.
bands?
What we are doing next month, our trip is my daughter's got curly hair from her mom, weirdly enough, not me. So she's a Japanese girl. She wants it straightened out, and there's someone in west of Yokohama who can do that well. So we've targeted one. Rock and Roll Burritos is near there, so we have to go there because Mexican food's a rarity. It's next to an
Alright.
American base, so I'm hoping for some authenticity.
I was going to ask you what the expectation is when you go
It's
get
right
burritos
across
in
the street
Japan.
from a naval air base, so I have
Okay.
hopes that, and it looked
Oh.
like the menus in English and stuff, so it might actually be real for once.
All right.
Instead of the fake tacos we
I'm
made yesterday.
I'm looking at it
Cool.
on Yelp and it looks pretty Japanese, but you
Okay,
know,
I don't
could
know.
still
at
be
this point.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
it'll still be good.
the top review says it's like Chipotle but better, so that's not
Okay.
bad.
Hey, I haven't had
All
Chipotle for 15 years, which is probably good,
Jeez.
but no, the
Well,
other thing is
guess
we're gonna.
what? Now it's way smaller and it costs $25.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, you're not
God.
missing much. Yeah.
So we're gonna stop
thing
by
about-
Moomin Land on the way back, which looks. You guys know
Oh.
Moomin?
Who?
It's the
Moomin.
Finnish. He looks kind of like a hippo, but he's a fairy. Very popular in
Hmm.
Japan. But yeah, there's like a themed area where they have Moomin's house and a Moomin museum and all that stuff.
Cool.
So we're gonna go.
Hello,
check that out
Moomin.
for-
Yeah.
I looked for Moomin Land and all the results are Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, put Moomin Village.
Okay.
2 words. Moomin.
Moomin. You have to specify. I thought it was Mumin.
Oh no.
Okay.
That's gonna give you
My
Queen
only
Mom, isn't it?
observation about Chipotle is I
moving
like
money.
the flavor and it always makes me ill.
Mm.
Oh.
I don't know
that's-
why, but I always get sick
That's
after
no
eating
good.
Well,
Chipotle.
I was telling Brian yesterday, unfortunately, Father's Day, I ate the bad sashimi and had slight food poisoning, but I
Oh,
guess I'm over
no.
it now. It was like, well, yeah, it wasn't too bad. I've had worse.
Moomin Village looks charming, also really tiny.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
a stop on the way home, but
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
but they got the museum, and I'm just interested in seeing the Moomin Museum, which sounds weird. There's also a
Very
Snoopy
cool.
Museum, but Moomin was voted for. Yeah, it's not a full theme park or anything.
Interesting. Interesting.
I guess I'm gonna go ahead and hit the record. So bye. I guess
All
bye
right.
Brian.
All right.
This is how you listen to these, isn't it?
I listen to I do listen to the Patreon
You
recordings.
say goodbye to yourself then. Say
Oh.
goodbye to yourself.
Goodbye,
Good night,
Brian.
Mm.